Good morning. My name is Robin Mary, and I'm clerk to the Board of Equalization and Review. The board is serving for the year 2022. We've been appointed by the county commissioners to hear any and all taxpayers with respect to concerns, complaints regarding the valuation of their property for tax purposes. Property owners appearing before the Board of Equalization and Review have the right to a fair and equitable hearing. The Board of Equalization and Review has been charged with ensuring that the proper legal principles have been applied in a valuation dispute for tax purposes. The format for the hearing is as follows. The clerk calls the case, locates the property, real property, or explains the situation, as in the case with personal property. The appellant presents his or her case. The assessor's office offers a defense. Both parties will be given the opportunity to rebut or conclude. All questions from either party should be directed to the chairman. In this case, the chairman is Mike Rape. The board will rule on the case or table it and inform the taxpayer when it'll be reopened. The taxpayer will be notified in writing of the board's decision. By statute, the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to demonstrate that the assessment is erroneous. At this time, please silence all cell phones. Does anybody have any questions before we proceed? Let's start the proceedings. Mr. Chairman, hearing number 1 is parcel number 07090009A. The property owner is Sun Valley Station LLC. And Joe will locate the property for us, and then we'll hear from the appellant.
All right, this property is, if you look at this map here, where my pointer is here, that's Sun Valley Commons, that's the movie theater over here. This is Old Monroe Road, and this is Harris Teeter Shopping Center. This is the newly constructed ABC store. It's still, I think it's almost finished, or might be finished at this point.
If you would state your name for the board.
Okay.
Thanks.
My name is Dennis Moser, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. On the Sun Valley Station site, we purchased this, for the town of Indian Trail in order to do the ABC store. We sold them the ABC store, and in doing that, we left the balance of the site with limited utility. As you can see on the map there, there's not another out parcel there on this site. That is utilized by the retention ponds, and then on the left-hand side, the little bit of frontage that we've got there, that's the access road for the ABC store. And then we got approved a building in the back for a new bowling alley and a pet supply plus, and a little fitness center, all of which, due to the pandemic and all that stuff, ended up falling through, but that's what it's approved for. But with that approval, I've got a large buffer that utilizes the entire backside of this. It's much larger than the typical buffer that would go on most properties. So my point in appealing here is the fact of the utility of the balance of the site with that large buffer on the backside, and then the retention ponds that are remaining. We kind of sold the heart of the watermelon out of this site to the town, and what we have remaining is very limited. Also, too, if you'll notice, there's a wet weather creek that goes across the site, which is real problematic, and it dips way down in the grading for the utility there of the site. And then we've been dealing with the past year and a half or so, there's a rare sunflower that's actually on this site that has been just an absolute nightmare, you know, to deal with, that we haven't been able to get permits and that type thing. It's very unusual. I've been doing this 31 years and I've never had a sunflower hold me up. But this one's a real problematic. And then the other factor that we ran into on this is the county is out of sewer. And we were able to get sewer for the town on the ABC store. We went back and forth with actually first utilizing septic of the existing home on the backside, and then, you know, as we moved through the process, it did come available for the store, but the backside does not have sewer and can't be developed, and we feel like that it's going to be 2, 3, 4 years before sewer is available for this property. So what we're asking for, I think, is a lot more reasonable than what is currently assessed for, and just appreciate your consideration on that. I'm glad to answer any questions or anything as well.
Yeah, when you mentioned the sunflower, would you explain that again?
Well, there's along that wet weather creek, there's a rare sunflower that you can't go in there and grade or cut or do anything till you get that remediated and cured. I think we've got it across the finish line where we're going to be able to actually cut the sunflower, but it's again, it's one of my first in 31 years of doing this that I've had a lot of things hold me up, but it hasn't been a sunflower. And it's a small, rare, it doesn't even really look like what you're thinking as a big sunflower. It's like, it's a very small, rare, you know, little plant that, you know, we would have never known it, known if the wetlands folks, you know, obviously discovered it when they did the wetland study and pointed it out.
There was a bowling alley going in there, you say?
It was. We had a bowling alley and a Pet Supply Plus and a fitness center going in the center on the backside, and this, we got it approved back before the pandemic and all that. And once that kind of kicked in, it killed, you know, all of those uses.
That's all I have, Mike.
So it is still approved for that use?
Yes, sir.
And whether it's developed or not, really it's still there. And the sunflower, I believe, is probably one of those prairie sunflowers they've had in the Piedmont that they deal with. And you say that you think you have it resolved. In which way do you think you have it resolved?
Where they're not going to classify it and hold up the development of the project, but it's just, you know, it's taken 1.5 years to get to that point. And, you know, we feel like at the end of the day, they're just going to say, okay, roll.
So in the end, you can use that portion of the property, correct?
Yes, sir.
It can be developed, whether it's under contract today or tomorrow. It still is commercial, it is zoned for this use, and you should have access to it.
Right, and what I'm asking is that it be assessed, I think, at 85 an acre instead of, you know, whatever the assessment is. I still think it has great value. I just don't think it has the value of, you know, the current assessment.
Well, the retention ponds are already there, and they're for the entire site.
No, sir. That one is just for the ABC store. I've got to expand that and make it much larger for the balance of the development.
For my reference, it looks like there's 3 of them here. Is that just a visual?
No, you're right. It just, those 2 upper ones are temporary. The one toward the front will be converted to a permanent.
So would you make the other 2 permanent to develop the rest of it? Is that the intent?
It will be expanded, yes, sir. Once the balance of it is developed, it will be expanded.
So then ultimately, how much of this is developable? Everything across the creek effectively? But you said there's a buffer from the backside. How big is that buffer?
I may have included a site plan for you.
Dennis, is this what you're looking for?
No, ma'am. I don't think it's included in this package, but I can get you clarification exactly on that, but I
I
think
mean,
it's.
what is the width of the buffer?
I think it's 50 feet on the backside. But I'll be glad to send that information back and clarify that for sure. It was a lot more than we wanted, but we met with the HOA, the adjoining neighbors there, and the adjoining development, and that was kind of a compromise for us to leave that existing row of trees in there, and then we're building a big berm, and then planting it with a lot of trees and landscaping as well. And we're also putting in a fence back there on the backside as well. That was part of the compromise, and including the extra buffer area.
So the property on the front.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, here's a copy.
It's in my packet that I included in our evidence.
Right.
That's the
No, that's not the correct one.
That was one that we pulled off of a website.
Yeah, that was the original, that's what we wanted to do.
Okay.
But if you look at the one that's approved, they ended up taking all this parking out along the back and making us put in a big buffer and moving the buildings.
This one
Maybe,
seems to reflect a 25-foot buffer.
Yes, sir.
So it's 25 more feet
Yes, sir.
from there.
Yes, sir.
That'd be a point of reference you could use just to look at that, and that's an additional 25 feet back.
But this does reference, though, a better illustration of the retention ponds and all of that area that's, obviously not developable on the site.
I guess the ultimate question is, what is the portion that can be or will be developed in the future out of the remaining site? Because yes, part of it is retaining, which is required to do what you did on the other one, and for this future development, what is the area that would be under this next partial? You get down to it.
Let's see, it's about, I'm just guessing maybe around 4.5 acres, excluding the road access on the left-hand side for the ABC store that's actually on our property, and they've got an easement to utilize it.
And would your access be through that same way in, or is it be on the other side, down towards the ponds?
I've got access down toward the ponds.
Ponds
Yes,
is the way
sir.
you would go into that back piece.
Yes, sir. And there's another entrance and exit that they both, I can utilize that easement area as well. It's still on their property. And I don't appeal these things very lightly. I mean, we got, we pay a fortune in taxes here, and we've got 81 different companies and, hundreds and hundreds of parcels in those different companies. And I know it takes a lot of valuable time for everybody to be here and to do this. And we own a lot of the property across the street and down the road. We've currently got a contract right across the street that gives me evidence to that what I'm asking for is much more reasonable than what the current assessment is as well.
Well, you just mentioned the sewer would be a problem as far as time to get it in there when you did get it developed. Why do you think?
There's no capacity in the 12 Mile Creek Basin.
And that's what's being resolved with the pipeline they're putting in now.
No, sir, that's water, but this is on the sewer treatment plant. We've got numerous projects right around this, you know, restaurants, Sherwin-Williams, all kinds of developments that we can't move forward with because there's no sewer.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're going to hear from the county now.
Okay.
We'll have a chance to
Yes, sir.
come back if you need to.
Okay. In your packet, in the packet that I've included for you, you'll see that, you know, we're pretty much in agreement on, you know, the amount of usage. I think he said 4.5. I've got 4.7392 is what I calculated as usable. And that's rough. That's not scientific, but it looks, there's a highlighted area in your map, on the map, that shows a green area. That's what we felt like could probably be developed, and it cuts out that dry weather creek that has the sunflowers on it. And we have dealt with the sunflowers before, sometimes in the farm properties and in other aspects. It's protected, and it's difficult, and it is a challenge sometimes to be able to develop that portion. So we cut that out, just said, okay, you can't really develop that. So what we have is an overall site of 7.243 acres that we've got on currently at $133,607 an acre. Okay? If you look at just the developable area, just the usable, we're at $200,000, $204,190 an acre. And we just looked at some of the sales that are up and down the road here and a couple of other ones that were similar, and felt like that was a fair value for it. We felt like the $85,000 was just a little bit too low because it can still be developed. It is developable. And we have made reductions for the lack of sewer. We've had this issue with multiple properties throughout the county, and we've come up with a 30% reduction because the scenario is a temporary thing. It's not that it's going to be 20 years down the road. It's just within probably, I think, 2024. They're estimating, and I don't hold me to that. I don't know, you know, what their timeline process would ultimately be, but we have developed that number is what we've been using on all the other appeals that we've dealt with. So as far as an equitable treatment, we have done that. In fact, we've given off the land we do what's called segmenting, where we give different rates to different portions of the property. And so, you know, for say like the front acre there, we have it on as an average site rating at 30% off lack of sewer. The retention ponds, we cut 85% off of our rates to reduce that down. And then the back part we've got on it very poor, which is our lowest rate that we have, and we have a 30% reduction for sewer and another 10% for the shape of it. So it's a 40% reduction on the back from what our land rates that we have in that area. So we felt like we had started out, you know, at 1.3 million, and now we're at 967,000. We felt like we had accounted for the limitations to the site. Have any questions?
Any questions, Rick?
Yeah, the 200,000 roughly per acre that you have it at, you said that that's comparable to?
That's just the usable portion. Now, the entire site, the whole value of the whole thing is $133,000 an acre.
Oh, 100.
That's your blended rate.
Yes. But if you just took the 4.7 acres and said the rest of the land's worth nothing, that's $204,000 an acre. but we're doing the whole, the way, and that's kind of a breakdown to let you know where we are with the part that is usable, that it's in line with all the sales that we have. Of course, it falls far short of the sales that we have. If we look at 133,000 versus 540,000 or 407,000. So, and that's why we kind of break it down just to show you that we are accounting for that. So overall, yeah, we're 133,600. The taxpayers requested 85,000 acre.
If I could, just, I think it might simplify, the last 2 pages in the packet Joe supplied shows a map of sales in the area, and then the last page shows an Excel spreadsheet with the prices per acre, so I think that gives you a good visual.
Any more questions?
Joe, one last question. On that last page, the comps on it,
Mm-hmm.
the 204,190, is that an average figure?
That's if you calculate 967,000, and I don't know the exact, 700 maybe. If you divide that by the 4.7392 usable, that's what it comes out at.
Okay, thank you. Saw that much.
Tom, anything else?
They have.
Tom, you have anything else?
Nope, nothing else.
Alrighty, Mr. Chairman, we're going to move on to hearing number 2. Parcel number is 07105-004A. The owners are Liquid Management LLC. Joe Hunter will locate the property for us, and then we'll hear from Dennis Moser.
Okay, this is another vacant tract of land. It's part of the Hub development. It is on Highway 74. It is slightly north of North Indian Trail Road and Indian Trail Fairview Road intersection, and is joining the newly constructed apartments. I think it's Elon is the name of it. And is any questions on the location as to where we're at?
My name's Dennis Moser. I'm the owner of Liquid Management. Could I give out a copy? There we go. Thank you. The current assessed value of this site's $3,206,000. This site is, I'm building the 350 apartments there next door with a partner, and then I own the piece behind that is phase 2 for the apartments. This site here is for a new 150 room hotel. And in your packet, you're going to see a contract for the hotel developer where they're paying me $850 or $875 for the site, and then we're putting several $100,000 in escrow to bring in soil and dirt and grade the site. And then also too, the buyer is having to put in a 8-foot retaining wall along the back side of this. If you'll look on the map that's up there on the board, there's a retention pond toward the back side, and then the rest of that's wooded. The rest of that is in wetlands and floodplain, sewer line. Only about 3 acres of the 6.84 acres is usable, and in order to be usable, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of dirt that has to be brought in, and then a retaining wall in order for that to happen. So my basis for the value is, even though this contract is saying that it's only 3 acres or so, and this says 6 point something, the balance of that site I can't even get the buyer of the hotel to take because of the liability associated with it being in the wetlands and floodplain and unbuildable and unusable. He doesn't want it. He wants me to plat that off, and I'm probably going to end up donating it to the town of Indian Trail for a park, or make it a walking trail or something like that, because it's not buildable in any way. As part of a little landscaped along the creek there and cutting through this property, we've got a walkway, a walking path that's that's all this will ever be utilized for, that area there in the back. So my basis is, here's an actual buyer, and this is what they're willing to pay. This is what we got approved. There's just so much cost to get this site up, up to the total price, which is, I think today, even on our flyer, this deal ended up falling through, but we've got another buyer. I think we're only asking $1,525,000 for the site, but the cost to get it to that sellable price would be the same thing that's associated with this contract, where in order to sell it for that, I would have to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring in the dirt to build the site up. The elevation of the Taco Bell and the Walgreens is at 686, and all of the hotel users want the site to be brought up at least to the elevation of the Taco Bell, which right now it's substantially below that. So anyway, based on the basis of a contract, a current contract that we're working on, and all the cost associated with to get that site to even a sellable price as this. And I also included an email in here that I sent to the buyer of the hotel, or actually my son-in-law did, where we offered it to him recently in the last couple of months, that because he's concerned about the cost escalations of the retaining wall and all the other things that are just escalating with inflation. There's an email in here where we said, hey, we'll sell you this whole site for $850,000, and you've got a copy of that, hey, if you'll just give us that, we'll get out of your way, you build the site, we won't bring in the soil, we won't, you do the retaining wall, you bring in the soil, you get it compacted, fill it and all that, we'll just sell it to you for $850,000. So I feel like that, based on that email and then the current contract, that it's very reasonable to say that the value, I'm gonna get as much as I can get for it, and that's the most I can get for it is $850,000, not $3,206,000. Be glad to answer any questions.
What was the, is this the original value of $1,334,000? Is this what you paid for the property?
I paid $2,008,000 for 27 acres of the site, and then I paid $1 million something for I bought 37 acres in there, I think altogether. I'd have to confirm it, but I paid about $3.8 million for all the property together. And if you'll notice right in front of the apartments right there, I would have bought that corner as well, but it's unbuildable totally 100%. The site there that's wooded at the corner of 74 and Chestnut, it's all floodplain and wetlands in there, and you know, in front of the apartments on the other side of where my access drive comes into the apartments at.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moser. We'll hear from the county now.
Yes, sir.
All right, when we place a value on these properties, we have to use the sales that we had. We can't go off current contracts or offers. We have to have legitimate sales that we use to value these properties. In my packet, I've got a list of sales that we use to compare this property to. The apartments that are right beside us sold for $526,851 an acre. It's a larger site, it's 12 acres, we're 6.8. We've given a 30% reduction, so almost a third of this property, we have cut the value of it off to try to account for the limitations to the property. You know, we're at 3.2 million for our site. Right beside us where the apartments are sold for 6.475 million. Of course, it's larger and it has more developable area. But we also look at other sales around. We have another sale, sale number 3, if you look at your map. That's a proposed motel. According to the owner of the property, they appealed that property. It sold for $424,490 per acre, smaller, 2.45, but it doesn't front on Highway 74. We're also looking at, back again on sale number 2, this is back off Chestnut Parkway. That's used for townhomes. It sold for $311,745 per acre for the entire tract. It was multiple parcels, but combined, they all went for that. They sold for $311,000, we're at $468,000. We have frontage on 74, they do not. They have more developable area, we do not. So we look at these adjustments and we try to be fair about how we're looking at these things, but like I say, we've got to use actual sales that we have, and so we're doing the best we can with this aspect of it. You know, you've got a site where the old Burger King, there was an old Burger King there, it was torn down, now I think it's Panera Bread. 865,000 acre for it's only 1.38, but it establishes a basis for what we're looking at. So you've got very valuable piece on the front. On the back, you do not. And we felt like using those sales, I have 2 maps. The other map is a further blown out, but it's similar, more commercial. It's commercial properties with similar locations that are in the range of where we're at with this property. And we felt like that given that 30% reduction was a fair way to treat it, given that it does, we recognize it does have limitations. And like I say, I can't go off of offers and emails, I have to use the sales. It's what we're tied to. Any questions?
The 30% is for what now?
The 30% is for the limitations on the property, the sewer.
Sewer part,
We
okay.
can't get sewer.
Okay, thank you.
Did you take anything off for the area that's not developable?
No, no, we did not.
Did you deem any of it not developable?
Yes, but the overall rate that we have on it, it would have been, we did a reduction on it. Originally it was at 4 point, yeah. And so we felt that that accounted for that as well.
I guess my ultimate question is, how much of this parcel do you think is developable that would merit the full value of adjacent, sales?
Well, I don't have anything that proves that it's not developable, and that's, I wasn't given, I have nothing in writing that says it's not, so it could be, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. They're dealing with 3.8 acres on their offer and what they're looking at, so we don't show any flood zone in there. He says wetlands, but our mapping doesn't show that, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're going to move on to hearing number 3, the account number, oh, sorry, Dennis?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The area there in the back is 100% not usable, we could provide, additional facts and all that on that if you'd like to see it. But one thing that, the site's only approved for a 150-room hotel. And in the economics of, like if you look at the hotel site sale right behind the Circle K that's on this map, it's that vacant parcel in front of the shopping center there on Indian Trail Road. That parcel is 2.4 acres, and I think it sold for what, $950? That's an excellent, excellent comp. On a hotel, once you get up to around $1 million-ish for the raw land, the feasibility of it goes out the window. So to say that this hotel site's worth $3-point-something million, there's just no way. And I think even though the appraiser, which I have a great deal of respect for these guys and appreciate everything they do, I know they work hard, but if I'm only asking $1.5 million for the site, and then I'm willing to put $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 in it, so you can buy it for $1.5 million, what I'm asking them to do is to pay $1.5 million and then put, whatever it costs me to bring in the dirt and the grading and all that to build the site up, put that in escrow, so I'll have the money to do the grading so they can utilize it. So if you go to my website, look up this site, you'll see I'm only asking $1.5 million. If I'm only asking that for the whole thing, there's no way it's worth, at least more than what I'm asking. And then if you see the contract and you take that, that's more evidence than any sale out there. And then if you look at the email, that's more evidence than any sale out there. And if you look at the detail in that contract, of all the things the seller has to do in order to make that site sellable, that's not comparable to anything out there. And the best evidence is that contract, and that's why we're asking for it to be $850. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're going to move on to hearing 3. The account number is 408383. The property owner is CEM Corporation. They're requesting a one-time waiver of late list penalty on an audit discovery. Please let the record show that the taxpayer is not in attendance. Mr. Chairman, that ends our agenda today, so we can proceed into deliberation. So, going into deliberation, we have hearing number 1, parcel number 07090009A. I think I got enough zeros in there. Yeah. property owner is Sun Valley Stations LLC.
You see anything?
Well, the way I see that one, the county knocked it down to, you know, this number here is lower than anything on here.
I agree with him on that.
I do too. One of y'all had to make the motion, but whatever.
I'll make the motion that we accept the county's valuation. I guess that's a simple way to word it. Or deny the appeal, which way do you do it?
Yeah, that's what you need to do, and then you can decide.
Okay, that we deny the appeal, that we stay at the county rate.
Right.
That, make that, do I need
Just
to make it
just a
lower?
point, you're not denying the appeal, you're making a decision on the taxpayer's value
Is
or the
not.
county's value.
Yeah, okay.
So I think the way
That's
you
what
want
I
to
was
word your
asking the
motion,
question down there.
I think the way you want to word your motion is make
Accept
a
the
motion to
county.
uphold the county's
Yeah.
current value,
Yeah. Make, do
if that's your decision.
I make the motion that we accept the county's valuation on this parcel.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to hearing number 2, the parcel number is 071050004A. The property owner is Liquid Management LLC.
Before you get into discussions on this one, I want to just make a point of reference on the timeline.
Yeah,
So the revaluation, reappraisal was effective 1/1/21.
yeah.
So
Anything since.
sales, any offers or numbers since that time are irrelevant. So you have to look at evidence that's in play as of January 1st, 2021.
And I think the county had respectable comps, and to base it on an offer for sale or something.
No, that makes no difference. The only issue for me, which they really didn't bring the proof in, was how much is actually usable or developable. If they provided that, I'd give it a second look. But without, that is the problem.
If you'll pull up Go Maps, pull up the floodplain.
Yeah, is there, something that tells me there's floodplain, truly unusable?
He talks
I
about.
I can see that, okay, this is,
He talks about
should be
putting it on
looked
the
at
dirt, but it looks like you'd have done a top.
at the full price at a smaller level and see where that
You know,
goes
the guy
out.
had
I
that
think
on
if
the
it's
plan.
there, y'all can
He
see
doesn't
it
have
on
any.
the map. And it's not more documentation to be
Yeah. And I could make the suggestion that if they wish to proceed, provide documentation.
You would have to make a motion to table the decision.
Yeah, that's what I was,
If that's the case.
Yeah.
But,
and give them time to provide more documentation on the unusable.
I will make the comment that floodplain and wetlands can be two very different things.
Yep.
I heard Joe address floodplain, I heard the taxpayer address
Wetlands,
wetlands,
yep.
and they don't always correspond,
No.
as I've learned the hard way.
No, the wetland can, if it's big enough for the Corps of Engineers to be involved.
Go to map layers. And then go down a little more. Is it not in there?
That's as far as I'm going.
It's not natural. It's not
Yeah, I
natural.
think it's natural.
Yeah, I don't normally go in here.
Yeah, there you go. So we want the,
14,
Yes. I don't see anything in there.
Yeah, I don't see anything. There's FEMA. Let's see what this looks like. There's, yeah. Yeah, I show some coming right up to it.
Yeah, down in the,
Yeah, I
On the
don't see
south
any
end.
actual floods on the
Look on
property.
the black bar, that drop that down.
Ah. All sorts of stuff I don't mean to do here. Not my normal environment. Yeah, this is our parcel here.
yeah,
I
just-
can see some flood zone back behind it here and down this creekway. Yeah, there again. That is slightly different.
It's that one?
That one.
Why do I have two joined?
The back part of that is not part of it.
It's right on the edge, isn't
Look,
it?
look, parcel again.
Okay.
0709.
Hold on. Let me get out of everything. Map layers. Go. See, I don't do this either. How do you get rid of the
Click
thing?
on the black bar.
I did. Oh. And how'd you get a line in there?
I don't know. I don't think it's a touch screen.
What, the green line?
No, the red line. That one right there. That I keep on going underneath.
All right, you see the floodplains going right up to it.
Yep.
You can see it right down here. I don't see anything on it at all. You can see a little bit here.
Of course, we're seeing flat. We don't know,
Right.
we can't see terrain really on this. And I can understand to some degree elevation to develop.
Well, we have contour lines that we can put on.
Yeah, put contour lines on, that would help.
These are 2 foot, so you
Yeah.
got 20, 30 feet front back.
Well, I'm not a developer. I don't
Yeah, I'm
know
not
much
either.
about it, but doesn't it make sense to everybody that before you would buy a piece of property like that, you would get a topo on it and know that it had to be, he referenced a couple of businesses that had to be raised. Wouldn't you think that he would,
Taking it into
had
account when he
factored
bought
that
it.
in or done his homework on it?
Well, that's, whether they did or didn't is, the developer gets what they get. And I gather he bought a bigger area and it's been divided into separate tracts for separate LLCs. So sometimes you get the bad with the good. And the easy always gets sold for top dollar. But that's the risk they run, if you know what I'm saying.
I think with this one, and then just providing some guidance here, y'all can make the
Yeah.
decision how you want it. If there's true wetlands issues
Yeah.
that wouldn't be indicated on this map, you could make a motion
To table.
to table or establish a value pending county's review of the wetlands. If documentation can be provided from the taxpayer to our office. Or you can table it until, it will be, what, September, October, before we have another meeting? Yeah,
And let him provide
right.
extensive
It would have to be documentation on our board of
documentation
engineers.
and legal
Right.
in the way that this isn't that, well, it may cost
Yeah.
Cost isn't the issue here so much as is that it looks like about half of this is developable, the way he deems it. You know, in his mind, roughly half. The site, the part up front where the hotel's going, the rest of it didn't.
Right.
Whether it's truly that or not, or is he gonna do something that's gonna impair the other part of the property by him doing what he's doing up front? That could be as much of the issue as anything else. By doing that project up front, it may limit what he could do on the rest of it.
Yeah, I
But
don't
that's
think.
his decision.
That's that's the developer and the buyer's decision.
Yeah.
We're not gonna I'm not gonna speculate.
That's what
on
I'm
that
saying
from
though,
an
and
office
he may be
standpoint.
trying to
Right.
get, if he does this, which is what he can recognize now, then it may be impairing something else that's less desirable for him in the back anyway. But that's his decision that he's making.
No, I don't think it would be, if y'all want to investigate the wetlands issue, it wouldn't be unreasonable to table it. We've got time to hear it.
That's the only hope I see for him, let's put it that way.
That's the board's decision.
You'll need to put that into a motion. I can't make it. I don't think I can make a motion, right?
I can make a motion that we table the deliberation, or what is the proper wording?
Table the appeal
Table the appeal and until the next regular meeting, and ask the taxpayer to provide documentation of why a significant portion of this property is not developable, which would impact the total value of the property.
And I think the primary question of that would be the wetland documentation.
Yeah, wetlands,
Yeah.
because it doesn't show on the flood map. but-
Wetlands and floodplain.
Yeah, wetlands and floodplain.
Okay, just the other option is to have those folks provide the staff the
Yeah.
information
And let them decide.
without us having to
Rehear
table
it.
this thing till October, just to get it off the slate and let, is
Let
that?
them work
You're
together.
gonna have to table it regardless.
Oh, we are?
If you want further information, you're gonna have to table it.
Table it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because you can't make a
I
decision
guess the
and
question
then us
is,
go back and change.
do I word it to come back to us or just go to staff?
To provide it to staff for review.
Yeah, I think that's the simple thing to do.
Okay,
So, table the motion of this appeal and allow the taxpayer to provide further, I guess, is it evidence of impaired property, especially around wetlands and or floodplain, to staff to be reviewed, to take it in consideration.
Yes.
I'll second
Yeah, second. All in favor?
it. Aye.
Opposed?
Alrighty, Mr. Chairman, we're going to move on to our last tab, tab number 3. The account number is 048383. The property owner was CEM Corporation. Again, they requested a one-time waiver of late list penalty on the audit discovery. We were told that they were going to appear, so I would consider this a no-show, no change.
I recommend we stick with no change on this item.
Well, I gather from me reading the book that if they don't appear, it's automatically denied, correct?
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
They didn't show, they didn't get any leniency.
Right.
Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion we adjourn. Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sometimes, Tom, the taxpayer can't come for a reason, and they'll tell us that, and then they'll ask you to present their evidence.
Yep.
And basically, all I do is I say, here's their evidence, review